Hello there, sports gamers. Welcome back into the channel. I'm Brandon Satterwhite. Today, STS revealed all of the new changes coming to franchise mode within MLB The Show 26. This includes the brand new trade system that includes logic, a new trade hub, a whole bunch of new features surrounding trades, which is something I've been a big critic of MLB The Show for the last few years. I really have felt like the last few games were not very good when it came to trade logic, so I'm really excited to take a look at that. There are also some other things like new lineup and rotation logic, the ability to do a bullpen game, and a whole lot of other smaller stuff that they talked about just a little bit. We're going to get into all of that in this video. Before we do get into the video, if you like these news videos, make sure to leave the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and also check out our dedicated baseball channel, SGO Dugout. I've been doing a lot of franchise content over there. I just dropped these franchise rebuilds over there, and so if you like franchise mode in MLB The Show, you like franchise content, go check it out. We just hit 700 subs over there. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs before MLB The Show 26 launches, so I really appreciate y'all's support. Also, if you like what we do here and you want to support the channel a little bit more, consider hitting that join button to become a YouTube channel member and receive access to some exclusive content. With all that out of the way, let's get into it.
Sports Gamers Online is the #1 source for the sports gamer.
Let's talk about the new stuff coming to franchise mode this year. The big thing is trades. That's the main thing they're focusing on this year is trades. You know, a couple of years ago, it was the scouting and the drafting. Last year, it was free agency. This year, it's trades. And they said that it is a completely new trade system from the ground up. They completely rewrote the logic this year, they said. And so I'm really interested to see how it works. And this is the new trade hub. So basically, when you go in to make trades, you'll have this basic overview that gives you, your date, lets you know how far you are away from the trade deadline, and it lets you know sort of the state of the market. So here in this one, you have a buyer's market. Trades may be discounted as a large number of teams are looking to sell. So now teams will act differently now based on where they are in the standings. So if a team really doesn't have a chance at competing this year, they're much more likely to value young assets with long amounts of team control. Meanwhile, if you're a team that's, just on the verge or starting to compete for a playoff spot, then they're more likely to value, the big time guys, trying to get that one last piece to put them over the hump, basically. And as you can see right here, the first big change is that a extra trade slot has been added. So now you will be able to trade up to 4 players per team. So you can have up to 8 players total within a transaction, 4 per team. And like I said, they said that they have completely reworked the logic, so you're not going to be able to pull off, the crazy trades that we've been seeing, like where Tarek Skubal or Paul Skeens gets traded for, some C potential prospects. And also now you're able to add untouchables. So that was something I said in one of my very first MLB The Show 26 videos, that it looked like you would now be able to add untouchables because of that little lock icon we saw on the trade screen. That is what it is. So now you and CPU teams are able to add players to your untouchables list, and once they are on the untouchables list, it's basically impossible to trade for them. If you put a player on your untouchable list, you won't get trade offers that include that player from CPU teams. And if a CPU team adds a player to their untouchable list, you will not be able to trade for them, which I think that's a really good addition. I think that's really going to help with a lot of like the really big names like Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper getting traded a lot like we saw last year. And here is the trade offer screen. A big thing that they said is that instant trades have been removed and that they've brought back what they had, and I believe it was like MLB The Show 14, 15, maybe 16 as well, where it was delayed trades. You would submit a trade offer and then you would have to wait a few days to hear back from the team you sent the offer to if whether or not they wanted to do that or not. And this is the new trade offer and trade overview screen. One thing I really do not like about this is the overall is not shown. I get that you have the potential here, and that's sort of showing like how good the player could be, but I think the overall being right here instead of having to scroll through each player and look at their overall right here, I think that would make it a lot more easy to immediately look at and see, okay, who won this trade, basically. So that's a little UI thing that I really don't like. I really wish the overall was there. I don't understand why that's not there. You're now able to add trade targets to a list, or you're able to have up to 4 trade targets, and basically what this does is it signals to those CPU teams, hey, I'm interested in this player. If you're interested in dealing him, let me know what the price would be, basically. They also talked about races and rivalry considerations. So this is something where, like, if you're in a heated, wild card race for that last wild card spot, you're not going to trade a good player away to the team that you're in competition with. Also, there should be less in-division trades, so you won't see things like the Yankees and Red Sox making a ton of trades with each other, hopefully, this year. And another thing is you don't have the little line here at the top immediately, showing you, what teams think immediately. You kind of have, they talked a lot about wanting to add that fog of war, so where it's more difficult to trade, you're not able to just kind of spam it immediately. You'll notice Trade Finder does not appear to be here, so it looks like that has been taken out, so you're not able to just immediately get, trade offers that you can instantly accept. It's more of a long process of, adding someone to your trade block, fielding offers from teams, and then, negotiating with them back and forth for that final deal. And sometimes, trade offers will be rejected. Here we have an offer for Corey Seager for Drew Rasmussen. This doesn't address our needs, and the value wasn't close. We'll revisit if things improve. They talked about position scarcity and impacts a player's value. So if a player is like a starter, center fielder, shortstop, or catcher, because it's so hard to find really good players at those positions, that those will be valued a little bit more. Also now, a player's secondary positions will also factor in to their trade value. So if you have someone that's a second baseman, but they have a shortstop secondary position, then they'll be valued as a shortstop by teams that are looking for someone who can play shortstop for them. And positional market, so this is something that we kind of talked about with the buyers or sellers market. If there are like a lot of shortstops on the market that teams are trying to get rid of, then the price of any single shortstop will go down. But if there's a scarcity, like here with third base, bidding wars could lead to higher prices. So if there's not a lot of players at the position you're looking for on the market, you may have to overpay a little bit in order to get the guy you want. And as you can see here, you can, you can field, multiple offers. Part of the thing with the delays is now you can offer the same package to multiple teams and see how they feel about it. So now you can take, Sean Murphy and Tyler Kinley and offer them to multiple teams and be like, okay, Orioles, do you want to give me this? Twins, how do you feel about this? And all that. It's definitely, taking the trade experience that we had and sort of making it slower, making it more drawn out, and trying to make it more dramatic and more difficult to pull off that big deal. And here, on top of there just being positions that teams are seeking, there can also be things like seeking prospects, seeking young MLB players, a team like the White Sox that are definitely rebuilding. That's what they're going to be valuing the most. And then if you have them at these positions, that's a bonus. And also one thing I think is really cool is that while you're negotiating back and forth with a team, they will also be negotiating with other teams as well. So if you're negotiating for a particular player and you're kind of dragging your feet, there's a good chance that that team that you're negotiating with could end up dealing them to someone else. We also have the rumors screen, which has been added, so you can have, all of your blog and forum posts, about different players that teams might be looking to deal. But some of them they said are not true. Like some of these could be false. And so you could go up to, the Reds and ask them about Chase Petty, and they'll be like, no, we are absolutely not trading Chase Petty. What are you asking? Why are you asking about him? And the other big thing they talked about that was reworked this year is the lineup and the rotation logic. So now you're going to have your best hitter most likely in the 2 or the 3 slot, and you're going to have those high on base percentage guys leading off instead of, the classic of, wanting a speedy guy or a stolen base specialist leading off. Also, along with secondary positions now affecting trade value, they will also now play into lineup adjustments. So now the CPU will be more likely to throw a player at their secondary position to make sure that you have the best players on the field at all times. They've also done some reworking to bullpen logic. So now you won't see, guys getting thrown every single day. It's going to try to, spread that out a little bit more and make it more of a regular rotation of guys coming in. And also now you'll be able to do bullpen games, which I think is really cool. So there will be moments where it asks you if you want want to do a bullpen game, and they talked about this in the feature premiere. This will be in situations where it's like you have a pitcher that's down for like a few days, but not long enough to really warrant putting him on the IL, or maybe a guy, hasn't really recovered his stamina as quickly as he would like, so he's still a little bit low on stamina. So I think that's really cool. I think that's a nice little wrinkle that you're going to see at certain points throughout your seasons in franchise. And then in the feature premiere, they went through a lot of the trade logic. They played with it a lot and showed like a lot of different trades and such. And this is the part where I was getting a little concerned, because some of the trades that it's showing here really don't seem that great of trades. And of course, trade logic is subjective. Everyone views things differently. Like here, you've got a 22-year-old C potential prospect that's 64 overall, already at age 22. You do still have 7 years of team control remaining, which I like now that it shows all of team control and not just like your contract. It'll show like all of your years of arbitration and all that. But like you've got this prospect here, 64 overall, 22-year-old C potential, getting traded for Tyler Stevenson, who is at one of those, high value positions of catcher, 77 overall with B potential at 29 years old. I don't know if the value really stacks up there, but I mean, I've definitely seen worse, so like I don't want to really complain about that. This was another one that was a little bit odd to me, like Jose Ramirez, who, has this monster deal with the Guardians, along with 3 other players, getting traded for Kamar Rocker, Sebastian Walcott. Like, I get that they're like really good prospects, but not even like an A potential. Like, this is like a 2B and a C potential guy going along with like your franchise guy and 2 others who has like a really team-friendly deal. That one, I feel a little bit, I don't really like that one. This one, I saw a lot of people talking about online. So the Phillies trading their top prospect in Aiden Miller for Matt Chapman and 2 other MLB players. So like, you only got 1 prospect back for all of that feels a bit odd, especially when Matt Chapman, like, it's on a decent contract. He appears to be playing well. I get he's 32, so that might be factoring into it. And also Aiden Miller is, shortstop, that's a premium position, B potential. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like, and this is something that, it takes a while. It takes a while of like simulating this. I haven't seen any trade where I'm just like, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's awful. Which is good. That's a good thing that I haven't seen one of those yet. This was one that was pretty big. I think this one's all right. Brandon Nimmo, you get like 3 or 4 good Orioles for Kobe Mayo. And a couple of kind of throw-ins, it seems, with Noel and McDermott. That one I'm kind of okay with. This was a big one. Eugenio Suarez and Emilio Pagan for Max Clark and Jace Jung. That one was kind of surprising that we saw Max Clark getting moved, but I mean, it makes sense with Eugenio, and a Pagan. I guess, the Tigers are definitely an all-in team, and the Reds are trying to, build for the future, it seems. This was a big one. Corey Seager and Nathan Eovaldi for Christian Campbell and 2 other top prospects. This one actually seems pretty good. Like, I get Corey Seager and Eovaldi's a lot for Texas to get rid of, but they're getting a lot back. That one might be all right. Again, I wish the overalls were here so I could see like, okay, and the ages. I wish overall and age was here like they were previously, where you could look and be like, oh, this guy's a B potential, but he's already 26 and he's only a 60 overall, or, he's a B potential, he's 18 and already a 71 overall. Like it's very clear to be like, okay, where in the path to that B potential is this player at the moment? And how much am I going to have to invest in him year-wise and salary-wise to get him to that potential? I think that is just as important as what the potential is. That's basically it for the trade hub and the trade logic and stuff. Again, we'll have to see once we actually get our hands on it and are able to simulate, multiple seasons, because usually it's, year 2 or year 3 where, things start to get really, really weird. The other thing that they really talked about was this new streamlined franchise experience. So March to October is gone. It, according to what they said on the stream today, it will not be in the game anymore, and it has been replaced with this new streamlined version of franchise mode. So now when you enter into a franchise, you'll be able to choose full control or streamlined, and if you do streamlined, then a lot of the stuff on here will be locked to automatic, and you'll still be able to toggle manual or automatic for a few other things. If you go full control, you can basically tune every single thing to either manual or automatic. This was something that was already available to you when you started a franchise, you had like the 3 boxes that you could set to either manual or automatic. So it would have like groups of these things that you would set all together. Now you can do it individually. You could already do it individually in the settings. If you went to settings and went to mode specific options, you could set all of these to either manual or automatic from there. They did add further down in this. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can see they added arbitration and contract tendering, which is an off-season duty, as one of these things that you can leave automatic or leave on manual. I am curious how the logic is going to work with, you know, the CPU deciding who to offer arbitration to, whose contract to renew, and all that. Also, they were kind of running out of time, so they kind of threw in a few things at the end. One thing that they did say was they reworked Hall of Fame selection logic, which is something I've really wanted them to rework for a long time. They also said they did address one of the big concerns with regression in the game. So they said that now if you have a player, you know, over 30 that is starting to regress, but they are continuing to play at, you know, that all-star level, then that will cause their regression to slow and they won't, you know, just fall off a cliff like they have previously. Hopefully that does mean that regression won't be as steep, especially when a player continues to play well. That's always, you know, very demoralizing when a player, you know, has like a 4 or 5 WAR season, hits like 40 bombs, and still drops like 10 to 15 overall points. It's very frustrating when that happens, because you feel like you just really have no control over how a player progresses or regresses at that point. It feels like it's sort of just predetermined at that point. And so hopefully this fixes it. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to and hoping that that works properly this year. That's going to do it for this video, y'all. A bit of a longer one, but there was a lot to go over here, especially with that new trade system. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of the trades that they showed both in the trailer and in the feature premiere today? What are your thoughts on the new trade system coming to MLB The Show 26, and what do you think needs to be fixed with franchise mode the most? Again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, and go check out our dedicated baseball channel, SGO Dugout, to help us get to 1,000 subs over there. And also, if you really want to help support us here at SGO, consider hitting that join button to become a YouTube channel member and get access to exclusive content. And for all your sports gaming news and updates, make sure to stay tuned to Sports Gamers Online. I'm Brandon Satterwhite with SGO. Thank you for watching.